Have you ever heard of a superpower that just vanished? I'm not talking about a mythical city like Atlantis. I'm talking about a real, thriving civilization that was older than the pyramids of Egypt, larger than Mesopotamia, and in some ways more advanced than both. This is the story of the Indus Valley Civilization, a forgotten giant of the ancient world. Flourishing over 5,000 years ago in what is now Pakistan and northwest India, this civilization built magnificent cities, traded with distant lands, and supported millions of people. And then it disappeared. There are no records of great kings or epic wars. Their writing is a complete mystery. We left with one of the most profound questions in all of history. How could such a sophisticated society simply vanish from the face of the earth? Let's dig in and find out. For thousands of years, the world believed civilization was born in the Fertile Crescent of Mesopotamia and along the Nile in Egypt. These were the cradles, the starting points of urban life. Then, in the 1920s, a team of British archaeologists stumbled upon something that would rewrite history. While overseeing the construction of a railway, they unearthed ancient bricks near a town called Harappa. Soon after, another team discovered a vast buried city called Mohenjo-Daro, meaning Mound of the Dead. The discoveries were staggering. These weren't just primitive settlements. They were sprawling metropolises, meticulously planned and masterfully built. The scale of urban sophistication was unlike anything previously known in South Asia. For historians, it was a shock to the system. Suddenly, there was a third independent cradle of civilization. A lost world that had been hidden right under their feet for millennia, challenging everything they thought they knew about our shared past. So what made these cities, Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, so special? Imagine walking through their streets 4,500 years ago. You wouldn't find chaotic, winding alleys. Instead, you'd see a perfectly organized grid system, with main streets running north-south and east-west. The buildings were constructed with standardized, fired bricks, all the same size and ratio, like ancient Lego. This level of uniformity across hundreds of miles suggests incredible central planning and communication. But their most impressive feature was sanitation. Many homes had their own bathrooms and toilets, connected to an intricate citywide network of covered drains that whisked waste away. This was an engineering feat that wouldn't be matched in many parts of the world for another 4,000 years. One of the most iconic structures is the Great Bath at Mohenjo-Daro, a massive waterproofed public pool. Was it for ritual purification? A community hub? We don't know for sure. What's even more puzzling is what they didn't have. Archaeologists have found no grand palaces for kings, no monumental temples for gods, and very few weapons or fortifications. This suggests a remarkably egalitarian society, one that wasn't built around a powerful ruler or a priestly class. So who was in charge? What united these millions of people? The silent bricks of Harappa continue to pose these profound questions. So if they weren't building giant monuments to kings, what was life like for the average person in the Indus Valley? It was a life deeply connected to the land and to a vast network of trade. The civilization was built around two mighty rivers, the Indus and the now dried-up Sarasvati. These rivers nourished fertile floodplains, allowing for bountiful harvests of wheat, barley, and dates. But they were also innovators. The people of the Indus Valley were among the very first in the world to cultivate cotton and weave it into textiles. Their craftsmanship was highly sought after. Archaeologists have found Indus seals and beads as far away as Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq. This is concrete evidence of a bustling international trade network. Imagine caravans and ships carrying cotton cloth, precious stones, and pottery across thousands of miles, connecting these great civilizations in a prehistoric global economy. Life wasn't just about survival. It was about industry, artistry, and connection to a wider world. Let's talk about the genius of their social structure and engineering. The very design of their cities points to a society that valued public welfare over private wealth. Think about that advanced drainage system I mentioned. It wasn't just for the elite, it served the entire population. The standardized bricks and uniform city layouts suggest a cooperative system focused on efficiency and order for all. This is a stark contrast to other ancient societies, where you see massive pyramids and palaces for the few, built by the many. The near-total absence of fortifications or weapons also tells a powerful story. For over 700 years of their peak, there is very little evidence of warfare. This doesn't mean they were naive. But it implies that their society was structured around peace and cooperation, not conflict and conquest. So, if there were no kings or warrior chiefs, who made the decisions? The prevailing theory is that these cities may have been governed by councils of merchants, elders, or skilled artisans, people whose authority came from their economic or civic contributions, not from military might. They may have built their world on trade agreements and shared resources rather than on walls and swords. Now we come to the single greatest mystery of the Indus Valley: their writing. On thousands of small seals, tablets, and pottery fragments, they left behind a beautiful and complex script. It's made up of over 400 unique symbols depicting animals, geometric shapes, and abstract signs. We can see it, we can catalog it, but we cannot read it. Not a single word. The problem is that we have no Rosetta Stone, no bilingual text that translates the Indus script into a known language, like the one that unlocked Egyptian hieroglyphs. The inscriptions are also incredibly short, usually just a few symbols long, making it nearly impossible for codebreakers or computers to find patterns. Is it a logosyllabic script like Sumerian? Does it represent a lost language family with no known relatives? Without the ability to read their words, an entire dimension of their culture is lost to us. We don't know their name for their own civilization. We don't know their myths, their laws, their histories, or the names of their leaders. We have their cities and their artifacts, but we don't have their voice. The silence of their script is what makes the Indus Valley Civilization so hauntingly enigmatic. It's a library of lost knowledge, with the door locked and the key missing. For nearly 2 millennia, the Indus civilization thrived. Then, starting around 1900 BCE, the silence began. The great cities started to decline, trade routes faltered. The once bustling streets emptied as people abandoned them, dispersing into smaller rural settlements. What caused this collapse? There isn't one simple answer, but a storm of converging factors. The leading theory is climate change. Geological evidence shows that this period saw a dramatic shift in monsoon patterns. The rains that fed the rivers became weaker and more unpredictable, leading to prolonged droughts. The legendary Sarasvati River, which was a lifeline for many of their settlements, began to dry up and eventually disappeared entirely. Imagine a civilization built on river-based agriculture suddenly losing its primary water source. The environmental foundation of their society crumbled. Another theory points to invasion or migration by Indo-Aryan groups from the north. While the old idea of a single violent conquest has been largely discredited due to the lack of evidence for a major war, a gradual influx of new people could have disrupted the social and political order. Most likely, it was a domino effect. The environmental collapse, droughts, and the drying of rivers led to agricultural failure. This, in turn, caused economic breakdown and social unrest, making the society vulnerable to internal fractures and external pressures. They weren't wiped out in a single cataclysm. Their world slowly faded away. So did the Indus people truly vanish? Not at all. They lived on, and their legacy is woven into the very fabric of modern South Asia. Genetic studies have shown a clear link between the people of the Indus Valley and the current populations of the region. They didn't disappear. They adapted, moved, and integrated. Their influence is still visible today. The agricultural techniques they pioneered, like irrigation and crop rotation, continued in villages for centuries. The distinct styles of their pottery can be traced through later cultures. Even some of their urban planning concepts, like the importance of water management, have echoed through the ages. More profoundly, some scholars see connections between Indus artifacts and later Hindu traditions. The depiction of figures in meditative poses, the reverence for certain animals, and the use of ritual bathing might be the earliest roots of practices and beliefs that would evolve into one of the world's oldest living religions. Their legacy isn't just in ruins. It's in the culture, the DNA, and the spiritual heritage of billions of people today. Their emphasis on balance, civic order, and perhaps even sustainability remains incredibly relevant and inspiring. So what can we take away from the story of this lost civilization? The rise and fall of the Indus Valley teaches us that human progress isn't a straight upward line. A society can achieve incredible heights of sophistication, organization, and peace, and yet still be fragile enough to crumble. Their story challenges our very definition of civilization. Does greatness require monumental palaces and epic wars, or can it be found in clean streets, peaceful cooperation, and public well-being. The Indus people built a world without glorifying kings or conquerors, a world that endured for centuries. Their ultimate decline, driven largely by environmental change, serves as a powerful and humbling lesson for our own time. In trying to understand how their world ended, we might just learn something vital about how to prevent the end of our own. The forgotten giant of the Indus Valley still has so much to teach us. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the mysteries of our past. Let me know in the comments what you think happened to this incredible civilization. See you next time.